The great hall of the Galactic Council was silent. Not the peaceful kind of silence, but the heavy kind that falls when something very bad happens. All the important people from across the galaxy sat in their special chairs, waiting. They were waiting for Teo, the dragon diplomat, to finish his speech about the peace treaty. This treaty was very important. It had taken 300 years to create. Many people had worked on it. Many had died for it. And today, the final signing was supposed to happen. Teo stood in the middle of the great hall. His body was huge and powerful. His scales were blue like the deepest oceans. They shined and sparkled when he moved. He was an old dragon, very old and very wise. He had seen wars that destroyed entire planets. He had seen peace agreements that saved millions of lives. His voice was deep and calm, like thunder rolling across the sky. When he spoke, people listened. When he moved, people watched carefully. But something was wrong. In the middle of speaking about the final part of the treaty, Teo's body began to shake. His words became confused. His huge wings, which were so beautiful and strong, began to move strangely. Then something terrible happened. Teo fell to the ground. His massive body crashed onto the floor of the council hall with a sound like thunder. Everyone stood up. Everyone was shouting. Some ran toward him. Some ran away. The guards did not know what to do. The council members left their chairs and came closer to see what had happened. Teo was still alive, but he could not move. His body lay on the ground, and his eyes showed fear. This was very strange because Teo never showed fear. Dragons did not show fear, but now this ancient dragon, this great diplomat, could not move his legs. He could not move his wings. When he tried to speak, his words were slow and broken. The doctors came quickly. They examined him and discovered something very bad. A poison had been used against him. This poison attacked the special parts of the body that connected the brain to the muscles. This poison had been designed by someone who wanted to hurt him. Someone had put this poison in his food or in the air around him. Now his brain could tell his legs to move, but his legs would not listen. His brain could tell his wings to fly, but his wings would not work. The doctors said the poison was permanent. Teo would never walk again. Teo would never fly again. The council members began to talk and argue. Some said that Teo should step down immediately. Others said that a dragon who could not fly was no longer a real dragon and should not represent his people. The Zelthari ambassador suggested finding someone else to sign the treaty. The Hazit collective said they should wait many years and hope for a cure. Many people did not want to help him. They saw him as broken now. They saw him as weak. In the medical wing of the station, Teo lay in a special bed. His eyes stared at the ceiling. Around him were machines that helped him breathe and eat. His assistant, a young Keelian named Hai-Il, sat beside him. Hai-Il was tall and thin, with skin that changed colors when he felt emotions. Right now, his skin was dark red and blue, showing sadness and worry. Hai-Il had worked for Teo for 30 years. He loved the old dragon like a father. "Master," Hai-Il said softly, "the council wants to know what you wish to do. The treaty cannot be signed without you. The other diplomats will not accept anyone else." Teo tried to move his head to look at his assistant, but even that was difficult now. His voice came out very weak and small. "The treaty was my life's work, Hai-Il. I have given everything for this peace. Now I have given my body as well." Outside the station, on the planet below, people were starting to panic. News about Teo's condition was spreading across all the worlds. If the treaty failed, there would be war. The peace that had been building for 300 years would disappear. Nations would fight each other. Planets would burn. This was the fear that filled everyone's hearts. In a small military base on a quiet moon, Minna was finishing her morning training. She was a human woman, not very tall but very strong. She had short black hair and dark eyes that had seen many things. Her hands were rough from years of holding weapons and tools. Her body carried many small scars from battles and accidents. She was a veteran of Earth's colonial military. She had fought in 3 different wars on 3 different planets. She had lost friends and seen things that no one should see. Minna did not know about Teo yet. She was stretching her muscles after a long run, sweating in the hot sun. She did not know that the galaxy was about to need her. She did not know that her life was about to change completely. She was just doing her job, training, staying strong, staying ready. Then her communication device made a sound. It was a message from the Galactic Council. They needed military personnel to help with a security issue. They needed someone with experience in emergency situations. They needed someone right away. Minna read the message 3 times. She did not understand why they wanted her. She was just a regular soldier. But orders were orders. She gathered her things and prepared to leave. Hours later, she was on a ship flying toward the council station. As she flew through space, she received more information about why they wanted her. There had been an assassination attempt. A very important diplomat had been poisoned. The council was worried about more attacks. They needed security personnel they could trust. Minna still did not know that she would become something much more important than a security guard. She did not know that she would change the history of the galaxy. She did not know that she would help save a dragon who could no longer help himself. When she arrived at the council station, she was given a tour and shown to her quarters. Everything was very large and very strange. The hallways were too big for humans. The doors were too heavy. The air was full of smells she did not recognize. All around her, aliens from different worlds moved and talked in strange languages. The next morning, Minna was called to a meeting. The council leaders sat in a circle around her. They looked tired and worried. They explained about Tayo's condition. They explained about the treaty. They explained that without Tayo, everything would fail. Then the head of the council, an old Zelthari with silver skin, looked directly at Minna. "We understand you have experience with difficult situations. We understand that humans are good at finding solutions when others have given up. Can you help us?" Minna did not know what they expected, but she was a soldier. She was trained to help. She was trained to do what was needed. So she said the words that would change everything. "Yes," she said clearly. "I can help. Let me meet with him. Let me see what we can do together." She had no idea what she was agreeing to. She had no idea that this decision would lead her to meet a great dragon and become his strongest supporter. She had no idea that together they would change the whole galaxy. She just knew that someone needed help and she could provide it. That was enough for Minna. That was always enough. The medical room was quiet except for the sound of machines. Teo lay on a bed that was specially made for his large body. The bed could move up and down, and it could turn side to side to help prevent his skin from getting damaged. Tubes connected to his body brought him food and medicine. A machine helped him breathe better. Everything about the room was designed to keep him alive, but not to help him live. Minna walked into this room for the first time with no fear. She did not bow or show nervousness. She simply walked in, looked at the dragon, and said hello. This was unusual. Everyone else who came into this room treated Teo with sadness or pity. They spoke softly, like he was already half dead. They looked away from his eyes. But Minna was different. "I'm Minna," she said simply. "I'm here to help if you want help. If you don't want help, I'll leave." Teo's eyes moved to look at her. She was so small compared to him. Her entire body was smaller than his head. But there was something strong in the way she stood. There was something in her eyes that said she had seen hard things and survived. He had seen this same strength in very few beings across his 300 years of life. "You are human," Teo said slowly. His voice was still weak. "Yes," Minna answered. I'm a soldier from Earth. I've fought in wars. I've solved problems when they seemed impossible. I'm not magical or special. I'm just good at figuring things out. Teo wanted to laugh, but his body would not let him. The council thinks a human soldier can help me? How can you help when all our greatest doctors cannot? Mina sat down on a chair near his bed. She looked at him directly. They can't help you walk. They can't help you fly. But maybe they're looking at the wrong problem. The real problem isn't your body. The real problem is that you have work to do and your body won't cooperate. Those are two different things. The dragon said nothing. He waited for her to continue. Tell me about the treaty, Mina said. Tell me what you need to do. Tell me about the work you still have to finish. For the next 3 hours, Teo told her everything. He told her about the 300 years of work. He told her about the different nations that had to agree. He told her about the leaders who were still doubting. He told her about the final ceremony where everyone would sign the paper that would bring peace to the galaxy. Mina listened carefully. She asked questions. She wrote things down. She understood that this was important. More than that, she understood that Teo was not broken. His body was broken. But his mind was still sharp. His knowledge was still valuable. His voice was still powerful. Okay, she said finally. Here's what I think. You can't walk to the council meetings, so we'll get you there another way. You can't hold a pen to sign the treaty, so we'll find another way to sign it. Your body is damaged, but your brain still works. That's what matters. Within a few days, a plan was created. A special platform was built that could move through the hallways of the station. It was designed for Teo's large body. It had soft cushions to keep him comfortable. It had a special control system that worked with voice commands. It could move slowly and carefully through all the narrow passages. Hai-Il, Teo's assistant, helped design the system. Hai-Il was smart with technology. He had worked for Teo for so long that he understood exactly what was needed. Mina worked with him to test everything. She pushed the platform through every hallway. She made sure the doors would open for it. She practiced moving it quickly and carefully. But the real work was not about the platform. The real work was about helping Teo believe he could still do this. Every day, Mina came to his room. She told him about the meetings she had attended. She reported on what the different leaders were saying. She listened to his advice about what to do next. She brought him information about every detail of the treaty. Slowly, Teo began to feel useful again. His mind was working on problems. His knowledge was helping to solve issues. His experience was guiding decisions. The fact that his body was lying in a bed seemed less important now. 3 weeks after he fell, Teo left the medical room for the first time. Mina pushed the special platform slowly through the corridors. Every eye in the station turned to look. Here was the famous dragon, paralyzed and helpless, being moved through the halls like an object. But Teo's head was held high. He was not ashamed. Hai-Il, Teo said as they moved. Send a message to all the council leaders. Tell them I am ready to work. Tell them the treaty will be completed. In the council chamber, the reactions were mixed. Some leaders were happy to see Teo trying to continue. Some were uncomfortable. Some thought he should just accept defeat and retire with honor. But the treaty work began again. Mina attended every meeting. She sat behind Teo and listened to everything. She took notes on who was agreeing and who was still resisting. She helped him prepare for each discussion. At night, she would tell him everything she had learned about the different leaders and their thoughts. The Zelthari ambassador is worried about ocean rights, Mina reported one evening. The Free Worlds Alliance doesn't trust the Valorian Dominion. The smaller nations feel like no one is listening to them. Teo thought carefully about each problem. Then we must address each concern separately. Send messages to the smaller nations first. Let them speak. Let them know their voices matter. This was how they worked together. Teo had the wisdom and the knowledge. Mina had the speed and the ability to move around the station. Teo was the dragon, but Mina was becoming his legs. Together they were more powerful than either could be alone. One day, an ambassador from another station said something that made Mina angry. The ambassador looked at Teo lying on his platform and said, "It is sad to see such a great being reduced to this. Perhaps it is better if we simply chose someone new." Mina stood up immediately. "He's not reduced," she said sharply. "His body is limited, but his mind is still the greatest in this room. You came here because you trust him. You agreed to the treaty because he convinced you it was right. His legs don't matter. His wings don't matter." "His words matter. His thoughts matter. He is still the same dragon." The room became quiet. Everyone looked at Mina with surprise. No one had ever spoken to an ambassador like this. But Teo felt something warm inside him. Someone believed in him. Someone saw him as more than just a broken dragon. From that day forward, things began to change. The other leaders started to listen more carefully. They started to respect not just Teo, but also Mina. It became clear that this human woman was protecting the dragon, supporting him, and making sure everyone understood that his disability did not make him less of a leader. Hail watched this partnership grow with hope in his heart. He had been worried about his master. He had been afraid that Teo would give up. But now, he saw something beautiful happening. He saw a human and a dragon working together. He saw different species coming together to accomplish something impossible. The treaty was moving forward again. And everyone knew it was because of the unlikely friendship between a paralyzed dragon and a human soldier. Not everyone was happy about the progress being made. There were people who did not want the peace treaty to succeed. Some wanted war because they made money from weapons. Some wanted war because they hated aliens. Some wanted war because they loved power and control. These people began to work against Teo and Mina. The loudest voice against them came from a human named Kyung-Soo. He was a politician from Earth, and he had many followers who listened to everything he said. Kyung-Soo did not believe that humans should work with aliens. He thought humans were better than all other species. He thought helping aliens was a waste of human resources. One day, Kyung-Soo gave a speech that was broadcast across the entire galaxy. Millions of people watched and listened. He spoke with anger and passion. He pointed at Mina and called her a traitor to her own kind. He said she was helping a broken alien instead of helping her own people. He made jokes about Teo's condition, laughing in a cruel way that made people uncomfortable. "Why should we care about a dragon that cannot even walk?" Kyung-Soo shouted. "Why should a human soldier waste her time pushing a helpless alien around the galaxy? Is Earth so desperate for respect that we must cling to a crippled dragon? We should be building our own empire, not helping others with their problems." The words spread everywhere. News stations played the speech over and over. People debated what Kyung-Soo had said. Many agreed with him. They thought humans should focus only on themselves. They thought the peace treaty was a waste of time and resources. Mina heard the speech in her quarters, and it made her very angry. But she did not respond with anger. Instead, she went to Teo and told him everything Kyung-Soo had said. She expected the dragon to be upset, but he was calm. "There is always opposition," Teo said slowly. "In 300 years, I have heard worse things from worse people. What matters is not what Kyung-Soo says. What matters is whether we continue the work." But there was trouble coming from another direction as well. Within the Valorian Dominion itself, not everyone was happy about Teo's continued leadership. Many dragons believed that a paralyzed dragon was bringing shame to their entire species. They said that Teo should step down and let someone younger and stronger take his place. The main challenger was a dragon named Quan Ho. He was young, perhaps 100 years old, which was quite young for a dragon. He had a strong, powerful body. His scales were a bright red color, and he moved with confidence. Many dragons admired him. He was everything that Teo was not anymore, young, strong, and able to fly. Quan Ho began to spread rumors about Taio. He said that Taio was too old to understand modern problems. He said that Taio was being controlled by the human woman Min-Ah. He said that a dragon who could not fly should not speak for dragons anymore. He gave speeches to the Valorian Dominion about how Taio was embarrassing them and damaging their reputation. But Quan Ho did not stop with just words. He began to secretly work against the peace treaty. He sent messages to other leaders saying that the treaty was bad for dragons. He withheld important information that Teo needed. He told dragon representatives not to follow Teo's instructions. He was trying to make the treaty fall apart so that Taio would fail completely. The evidence of this sabotage came to light by accident. One night, Min-Ah was returning to Taio's quarters when she heard strange sounds coming from the hallway. She followed the sounds and found a dragon trying to slip something into Taio's room. The dragon saw Min-Ah, panicked, and ran away. Min-Ah picked up what the dragon had been trying to leave. It was a coded message. She brought it to Hai-Il, who was very smart with technology and codes. Hai-Il spent hours breaking the code and translating the message. What they found was shocking. The message was from Quan Ho. It contained instructions for dragon leaders to ignore Teo's orders. It contained a plan to make the treaty talks fail. It contained criticism of the peace agreement that Quan Ho was trying to spread among the dragon population. When Min-Ah told Taio about what they had found, the old dragon was silent for a long time. It was clear that this discovery hurt him deeply. Quan Ho had been like a younger brother to him. Taio had taught him many things when he was young. He had helped Quan Ho become a respected member of dragon society. And now this young dragon was working to destroy everything Taio had built. "So it is like this," Taio finally said, his voice very sad. "I trusted him. I believed he would honor the work I was doing. But he sees my weakness, and he wants to take advantage of it." Min-Ah felt angry at Quan Ho, but she also felt sad for Taio. She could see that this betrayal hurt the dragon in a way that his paralysis did not. Physical pain can be managed, but the pain of betrayal cuts much deeper. "We'll expose what he's doing," Min-Ah said firmly. "We'll show everyone what Quan Ho is really like." But Taio shook his head slowly. "No, if we expose him, it becomes about him and me. It becomes about dragons fighting dragons. The peace treaty cannot survive that kind of attention. The other species will see division in the dragon ranks and lose faith in us." "So what do we do?" Min-Ah asked. "We continue," Taio said. "We work harder. We show everyone that the treaty is worth fighting for. We prove to the galaxy that peace is more important than winning against our enemies. If the treaty succeeds, then Quan Ho's sabotage will be revealed as the wrong choice. If the treaty fails, then he will be the first to suffer the consequences of war." Meanwhile, the pressure continued to build from outside sources. Kyong-Su held more speeches. Quan Ho spread more rumors. The council members who supported the treaty were also being pressured by those who wanted war. Some leaders began to have doubts. Some began to suggest waiting longer before signing the treaty. It was during this difficult time that Min-Ah realized something important. People respected strength, but not the kind of strength that came from weapons or muscles. People respected the kind of strength that came from never giving up, even when everything was against you. People respected the kind of strength that came from believing in something bigger than yourself. Min-Ah also realized that she had changed since she came to work with Taio. She had come as a soldier, trained to fight and defend. But she was learning that the greatest battles were not fought with weapons. The greatest victories came from working with others toward a goal that mattered. The treaty negotiations continued, but now they continued in the shadow of betrayal and opposition. Everything was harder now. Every step forward felt like pushing a mountain with bare hands, but Tayo and Minna did not stop. They could not stop. Too much depended on their success. And somewhere in the galaxy, Quanho watched and waited to see if his sabotage would work, if Tayo would finally fall, and if he could rise up to take the dragon's place. Minna knew that they needed to do something new and different. Simple hard work was not enough anymore. The opposition was too strong. The pressure was too heavy. They needed to change the situation somehow. So she began to think like a warrior. In battle, when the enemy is stronger, a good soldier finds a new strategy. She started to work on a new technology that could help Tayo. She spent every night in the laboratory with the station's best engineers. She studied the poison that had paralyzed the dragon. She looked at the neural pathways that had been damaged. She worked with human technology and alien technology combined together. The idea came to her while she was studying old human warfare tactics. In ancient battles, soldiers who could not move their limbs would use their minds to control weapons. The brain sends electrical signals to the body. What if they could intercept those signals and use them differently? She designed a special interface that could connect Tayo's brain directly to machines. Using this interface, Tayo could think about moving his legs, and small mechanical parts would help his real legs move. It was not perfect. It was not the same as being able to walk on his own. But it was something. The first time they tested it, Tayo was nervous. The special interface sat on his head like a crown. Wires connected from it to smaller machines attached to his legs. Minna stood in front of him. "Just think about moving your leg," she instructed. "Don't try too hard. Just think it like you normally would." Tayo concentrated. He thought about his leg moving, just like he had done for 300 years. And then, something incredible happened. His leg moved. It was slow and jerky and not smooth like before, but it moved. Tayo's eyes grew wide. "I moved it," he said with wonder. "I actually moved it." Minna smiled widely. This was one of the best moments of her life. She had helped someone who everyone else had given up on. She had used science and determination to do something that doctors said was impossible. They continued to improve the system. They made it work faster and smoother. Within a few weeks, Tayo could use the interface to walk slowly. He could take steps, one at a time, carefully and slowly. It was not the powerful flying that dragons loved, but it was movement. It was independence. But Minna was not finished. She realized that the real battle was not just physical. The real battle was about how people saw Tayo. She needed to change the way the galaxy thought about him. So she did something very clever. She started to use Tayo's paralysis as a strength instead of a weakness. In the old days, when Tayo walked into a council chamber, people would watch his powerful movements. Their eyes would be distracted by his physical presence. But now, when Tayo walked slowly with the help of his interface, everyone had to pay attention to his words instead. Minna taught Tayo to use this to his advantage. She coached him on how to move slowly and deliberately. She showed him that when he paused before speaking, people listened more carefully. She explained that his slow, measured movements made him seem thoughtful and careful. His disability, which everyone saw as a weakness, was becoming his strength. "People fear leaders who are too fast, too powerful, too strong," Minna explained to him. "They don't trust them. But when a leader moves slowly and carefully, people think he is thoughtful. When a leader must work hard just to move, people respect his determination." In the council meetings, things began to change. Tayo's words started to carry more weight. When he spoke about peace, people could see his struggle to maintain control of his body. When he talked about sacrifice, people knew he was speaking from experience. His paralysis was no longer evidence of weakness. It was evidence of his commitment. How could anyone doubt the peace of a being who had sacrificed his own ability to walk and fly for it? Kyungsu's speeches began to lose power. When people saw Teo moving slowly but determined, they began to see him differently. He was not a broken dragon. He was a dragon who had suffered and continued anyway. He was brave. He was strong. Min-Ah also used human culture as a weapon, though not a violent one. She invited the most important council members to special dinners. These were Earth-style dinners, simple and informal. No fancy decorations, just good food and honest conversation. People could talk naturally without all the formal rules of the council. At these dinners, leaders from different species began to know each other as real beings, not just as representatives of their nations. The Zelthari ambassador told stories about his home planet. The Huzd collective shared their unique perspective on problem-solving, and Teo talked about his 300 years of life and what he had learned. Mina also taught the council members about human military strategy and human problem-solving. Humans were young as a species, but they had learned to survive in harsh conditions. They had learned to adapt. They had learned that the best solution often came from cooperation instead of competition. On Earth, Mina told the gathered leaders, we learned that the strongest team is not made of the strongest individuals. The strongest team is made of individuals who trust each other and work together. One strong dragon cannot make a galaxy peaceful. But a dragon who works with humans, with Zelthari, with Hazist, with everyone together, that can create peace. As weeks passed, the situation began to shift. The council members started to believe again that peace was possible. They started to believe that the treaty would succeed. Quan Ho's sabotage became less effective because the leaders no longer listened to him. His messages were seen as selfish political moves instead of legitimate concerns. Even some of Kyungsu's own supporters began to question him. When they saw Taeyo's determination and Min-Ah's loyalty, they started to think differently about cooperation with aliens. One day, a human general came to see Min-Ah. He told her that Earth was proud of what she was doing. He said that humans everywhere were watching and learning about the peace treaty. You're showing the galaxy what humans really are, he said. You're showing them that we are more than just warriors. You're showing them that we have loyalty, creativity, and courage. Min-Ah felt proud, but she did not get distracted. There was still much work to do. The treaty was coming closer to final signing, but there were still difficult moments. There were still leaders who had doubts. There were still problems to solve. One night, Teo asked Min-Ah to sit with him and talk. They sat in his quarters, looking out at the stars through a large window. You have changed everything, Teo said quietly. Not just for me, but for how the galaxy thinks. You have shown that weakness and strength are not opposites. You have shown that a being can be limited in body, but unlimited in spirit. Min-Ah looked at the old dragon. You did the work, Teo. I just gave you a way to do it. You are the one who has the knowledge and the wisdom. You are the one who believed the peace treaty was worth fighting for. I just helped you fight. Perhaps, Teo said, but that help was everything. Without you, I would have given up. Without you, the galaxy would still be falling toward war. You are not just my assistant now, Min-Ah. You are my partner. You are my friend. Min-Ah felt tears in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. She was a soldier, and soldiers did not cry. But inside, she felt something that was stronger than any pride. She felt purpose. She felt that her life was finally doing something that truly mattered. Everything was falling into place. The negotiations were almost complete. Most council members had agreed to the treaty. The signing ceremony was scheduled for 1 month away. But then, something unexpected happened that threatened to destroy everything. A major conflict arose between the 3 largest powers in the galaxy. The Valorian Dominion was arguing with the Zelthari Empire about old territorial disputes that had been forgotten for centuries. The Free Worlds Alliance was worried that the treaty would give too much power to the larger nations. Old fears and old anger began to bubble up to the surface again. Teo watched these developments with growing concern. He could see that the fragile peace he had been building was breaking apart. The treaty was not strong enough yet. There were still too many doubts. There was still too much distrust. In emergency council meetings, leaders were angry at each other. Some threatened to leave the agreement. Some said that peace was impossible. Some started to talk about weapons and military preparation. It seemed like all 3 months of work were being erased. It seemed like the galaxy was going to fall into war anyway. For the first time, Tayo asked Minna to help him do something dangerous. He asked her to take him to the sacred temple of the Valorian Dominion. This was a very special place. Only pure-blood dragons could enter there normally. It was forbidden for aliens. It was forbidden for most people, but Tayo wanted to go there and make a statement that would change everything. Minna was worried about the danger. She was worried about breaking ancient laws and sacred traditions. But she could see the desperate determination in Tayo's eyes. He had an idea, and it was important to him. They moved through the station carefully, trying not to be noticed. Minna used her military training to avoid security cameras and guards. They reached a small ship that Hai-Il had secretly prepared. Hai-Il knew about the plan because Teo had told him. "Master, this is very risky," Hai-Il warned as they boarded the ship. "I know," Teo replied, "but the treaty cannot survive if the 3 powers continue to fight each other. I must do something that will make people listen. I must do something that will remind them why peace matters." They flew to the Valorian Dominion's homeworld. It was a beautiful planet, covered with tall mountains and deep valleys. The sacred temple stood on top of the highest mountain. It had been built thousands of years ago. Dragons had worshipped there since the beginning of their civilization. When they arrived, the guards tried to stop them. But Teo used his ancient authority as a respected elder dragon to demand entry. Minna stood beside him, and together they entered the temple. Inside, the temple was silent and solemn. Carvings covered every wall, showing scenes from dragon history. A statue of the first dragon leader stood in the center. Tayo moved slowly through the temple, and Minna watched, understanding that this place meant something very deep to the old dragon. Then, in the most sacred room of the temple, Teo made his announcement. He did it in a way that would be broadcast throughout the entire galaxy. The announcement was recorded and sent out immediately. "I am Teo," he said, his voice strong despite his physical limitations. "I am the dragon who brought my people to the peace table. For 300 years I have worked toward this treaty. It has cost me everything I had." He paused, and Minna could see how much effort it took him to speak these words. "Today I renounce my position as the representative of the Valorian Dominion," he continued. "I am stepping down. I will no longer speak for my people." The galaxy was shocked. No one expected this. All the news services played the announcement over and over. Everywhere people were confused and upset. It seemed like Teo was giving up. But Teo was not finished. "I renounce this position," he went on, "so that I may take a higher position. I will no longer represent one nation. I will represent peace itself. I will become the neutral leader of the Galactic Peace Agreement. I will work for all nations equally, without favor, without bias." Now people began to understand. This was not a surrender. This was a sacrifice. Teo was giving up his position of power within his own nation so that he could serve the galaxy as a whole. He was saying that peace was more important than national pride. He was saying that unity was more important than division. But there was more to his announcement. "And I am making a promise," Teo declared. "If the 3 major powers cannot find agreement, I will step down completely. If this treaty fails, I will accept responsibility. I will remove myself from all positions of authority. My failure will be absolute. This was a stunning commitment. Teo was putting his entire future on the line. He was saying that the treaty must succeed. He was saying that peace was worth any personal cost. When Teo and Minna returned to the station, they found that the galaxy had changed. Teo's sacrifice had touched something deep in people's hearts. Even those who had doubted him now had to respect him. A being who was willing to lose everything for peace could not be questioned. More importantly, Quan Ho's position became impossible. All his sabotage had been designed to make Teo fail and lose his position. But Teo had voluntarily stepped down already. Quan Ho's schemes were now meaningless. Worse, when people discovered that Quan Ho had been working against the peace treaty, he became very unpopular. Dragons were ashamed of his behavior. His own people rejected him. The three major powers looked at what Teo had done and felt ashamed of themselves. How could they continue to argue about territory when a dragon had given up everything for peace? How could they be selfish when someone had sacrificed so much? Over the next few days, the disputes began to resolve. The Valorian Dominion and the Zelthari Empire made a compromise about the old territories. The Free Worlds Alliance agreed that the treaty protected their interests. The agreement began to come together again. Teo held a meeting with the three leaders privately. Minna waited outside the room, watching the corridor. When the leaders came out, they looked different. They looked peaceful. They looked like beings who had made the right decision. The lead of the Valorian Dominion, an ancient dragon named Dei Jung, approached Teo with respect. "You showed us that sacrifice builds peace," he said. "We have decided to support the treaty completely, and we accept your new role as the neutral peace director." Over the next few weeks, preparations for the signing ceremony began. Delegations came from every nation in the galaxy. The ceremony would take place in 3 weeks. Everyone would see the moment when peace became official. Teo spent these days working with the new peace council he would lead. He planned how to prevent future conflicts. He designed systems for communication between different species. He created safety agreements that would protect all nations equally. Minna stayed beside him through it all. She was no longer just his assistant. She was his partner in this great work. And as the signing ceremony approached, she felt more pride than she had ever felt in her entire life.